This week on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Here, I'll be messy on your behalf. Whitney told me earlier she thinks you called her a slut because you were one.
Wait, what? This is a very beautiful religious event, Meredith. Thank you.
What was that?
I don't like people who slut shame.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And this is by far one of the most bizarre episodes of a Housewives franchise that I've ever seen. I can't wait to talk about it. So let's get right into it. Okay, you guys, as you all know, I watch all the Housewives, all the different cities. But when I tell you guys that I don't think there will ever be a franchise that comes near to the just craziness, bizarreness, spontaneous that the Real House of Salt Lake City has. I mean, what other show have we seen where, number one, we've seen Homeland Security come as they're filming? I'm just saying this because tonight's episode was kind of like that, where it was just one of those episodes that you didn't even know what to expect because so many crazy things were happening. But let's get started. So we begin the episode right away. The episode actually, it's an entire event. And that event is Meredith's bar mitzvah. So she's kind of rehearsing a little bit. Remember, that's her storyline this year of wanting to do this bar mitzvah, which is, I definitely heard of young people doing it. I didn't know you could do it when you're like middle-aged, but I guess you can. So she's working on that, reading the little thing that she has to read in the Hebrew language. Meredith says that she's doing this to be more in touch with her faith, spirituality, and heritage. I guess the rehearsal was the same day because then everyone starts to arrive, all three of her kids, husband, family members, and as well as all of the other guests. As soon as Heather gets there, she's already drinking espresso martinis. Whitney feels a little bit weird with Bronwyn because she thinks Bronwyn twisted her words at camp by saying that Whitney was talking bad about Heather. I was just thinking, Whitney, you probably have talked bad about Heather, so get over it. Angie is there. Surprisingly, Meredith invited her, but she decided to come. There also is some tension between Angie and Bronwyn for sure because of, as well, the camp. Some of the ladies are asking if Mary's going to be there. They then show a scene that happened a few days before this where Angie goes over to Mary's house and Angie asks her if she's going to go to the bar mitzvah party. But Mary says, no, right now my family needs me. And she starts to break down in front of Angie. Now we obviously know what she's talking about. We saw it last episode. She's really struggling. And of course, it's something very serious. Angie doesn't ask her, what is it? But she does let her know that she'll be there for her. But going back to this party, Brittany is also mad at Angie because remember that at Mary's breakfast at Tiffany's party, Angie told Brittany, you're sleeping with three men at the same time. She's actually talking a lot with Bronwyn in this bar mitzvah. And she even tells her that maybe the reason Angie is telling people that Brittany is sleeping with a lot of people is because Angie herself might be doing that. So, long story short, everyone's kind of mad at everyone. Meredith's mother is there. I'm not sure we've seen her before. And then Meredith makes her grand entrance. She and her immediate family arrive on a sleigh. I like that all the women were very nice to Meredith. Even if they have problems with her, they know that this is her event and it's something really important to her. So then they all go inside to begin the ceremony. This is something important. An important part of the celebration. So there is something that I can't remember what it was called, but when you're doing the bar mitzvah ceremony, they wrap you around. It's a piece of, I think they called it a talib. I can't remember exactly, but you wrap yourself around it, and this is a very significant piece, and it's special for Meredith because Seth ended up giving her the one that he used when he had his bar mitzvah as a young teenager. So she kind of liked that she's, becoming even closer to her husband just in that alone. So then they show the rest of the process. It's a lot of a prayer, then a song. So that, you guys, Mary does end up making it. She's late, but I think that it was nice that she went at all, considering her issue with Meredith and what she's going through personally. But it was so funny because as they're doing the religious symbolic tradition, Everybody can see Mary through the windows. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. But she does eventually make it in. She makes it in when Meredith is doing a little speech. And her speech was basically about her religion and wanting peace for the world. That her kids go and her husband. So a lot of like, a little ceremonial things like that. When the ceremony ends, it's time to eat and hang out. So Mary goes up to Meredith to tell her again that she's mad about her walking out of her house. But then Meredith apologizes and Mary apologizes too. And Mary says that she loves Meredith and that they've been through so much and they hug it out. I'm glad that they let it go because it really wasn't that serious. Angie then approaches Bronwyn. Angie says, can we talk? And Bronwyn says, yeah, but it's a bar mitzvah, so let's be respectful. Angie says, yes, of course. So let me start by, step one. Your outfit's very nice. And Bronwyn's like, oh, thank you. And I'm guessing that step two is going to be your apology. Angie says, do I owe you an apology? And Bronwyn says, well, yeah, I feel like you do. And Angie says, oh, well, that's interesting because I feel like you owe me an apology too. Oh my gosh. Angie says, well, I feel like you twisted my words quite a bit. And Bronwyn says, well, what about you telling me to shut the F up 7,000 times? Until you apologize to me for saying that, you don't need to say anything else to me. Do whatever the F you want, Angie, but not with me. So Bronwyn was getting very heated, and I was like, Bronwyn, I thought you were the one that just said, let's keep it nice because it's a bar mitzvah, but you're getting out of control. But then Angie actually kind of proceeds to give her the apology. She says, if it's going to make you happy, I'm sorry. But Bronwyn's like, no, 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 no. And Angie says, well, by you going around twisting my words, you are putting me in a very bad situation with my friendships with Heather, Lisa, Whitney, and even Brittany. And Bronwyn says, well, you were the one who brought up that Brittany was sleeping with 10 men. And Andrew says, I never said 10, I said 3. So they start fighting. And Angie says, you were so mean and you want people to look bad when you're in social settings. She also adds, you, Bronwyn, you use vulgar language as well. You say F, B, D, A, B, C. She was saying the actual words. And Angie was making a point, but I don't think she realized how loud she was being. So you could hear all these cuss word bombs just, all over the place. Todd then goes to check up on Bronwyn, and he says he was actually polite, based in comparison of what we've seen before. So he says to Bronwyn, let's take a break. And he says to Angie, do you want some more wine? Bronwyn then snaps at him and says, do not offer to get a drink to a woman who just called me a liar. Whoa. Then they go to the bar and she's mad. He's mad at her. It was quite embarrassing for Bronwyn. I gotta say that. Okay, so then Whitney, if this couldn't get any worse, Whitney then goes over to Heather. She wants to clarify things after camp. She wants to let her know that she really didn't badmouth her to Bronwyn. But Heather pretty much says, it's okay, like, don't worry about it, you don't need to explain yourself. Heather really isn't too concerned about what Bronwyn said, because she kind of already knows what the worst things that Whitney could say. Like, she's already said them, so it's not that big of a deal. But then this is the crazy part. Lisa Barlow approaches them, and when she hears Whitney telling Heather, Heather, Bronwyn got my words, and she's twisting them to put you against me. Lisa says, that's not true, Whitney. You lie on people and you make up things. Oh my gosh. Meanwhile, like I said to y'all at the beginning, Bronwyn and Brittany were, becoming very close. And like right now they're like little besties and taking selfies and doing all this. And I was just like, what is going on? So eventually all the women get together and Angie is saying to Bronwyn, again, you're twisting my words and you're trying to make me look like a bad person. Brittany then jumps in there and says, well, Angie, I think you say things for shock value. Like, you literally called me a slut. And Angie's like, I don't even use that word. Then, you guys, Bronwyn, who, like I said, is apparently being, on good terms with Brittany, and she's mad at Angie. But in this moment, she says to Angie, well, you know what, Angie? Brittany told me that you probably called her a slut because you're a slut as well. So, Bronwyn completely threw Brittany under the bus, and it didn't really make sense why she did that. But that sparked a fight between Angie and Brittany. they begin to argue like who's more ran through, the body count, and all that stuff. And Angie says to Brittany, well, you look slutty, your hair looks slutty, your clothes. And Brittany says, screw you, Angie, I've never been so offended in my entire life. And she starts to cry and she walks away. She says that she wants to leave, and Angie's still screaming like a lunatic. What I thought was really nice though was that Brooks and Chloe, Meredith's youngest kids, they did comfort Brittany, and then they tell Meredith what just happened, and Meredith says to Brittany, like, are you okay? And Brittany says, no, Angie literally called me slutty. So everyone is like, Angie, apologize to Brittany, apologize to Brittany. Angie says, okay, I do love your hair. But then, you guys, I'm telling y'all, Meredith snaps. She snaps at Angie and says, you call everybody a slut. Why are you even here? You and your husband can go. Security, security, you are not welcome here. Get out. Oh my gosh, my jaw was on the floor. So the security guards come and Meredith says, I don't like people that slut shame. I was on the floor. And then it was seeing the security guards try to take Angie out was also hilarious because one of them handed her over a coat and she said, this is not my coat, this is Brittany's, and she throws it on the floor. So they could escort her out, and Lisa and Mary, they do go check up on Angie, but this was just crazy, you guys, and Angie's still screaming, and oh my gosh. So everyone starts leaving at some point, and before Lisa leaves, she goes to Meredith and says, good night. I can't wait for Puerto Vallarta. I was like, Puerto Vallarta, what is going on? Well, that's a girl trip that Lisa planned before coming to the apartment. So that's going to be the cast trip. But my gosh, was this a crazy episode. That was the end. So much stuff happening, you guys. But I gotta say one thing. I am really disappointed in Bronwyn. I've been defending Bronwyn so far when when it's been her against Heather and her against Lisa. I really did not like her behavior this episode because number one, girl, you wanted an apology. Angie was literally trying to do that. You then start to get all angry and you don't want to accept it. Then, if we're going to be totally honest, the entire, explosion that happened towards the end of the episode was Bronwyn's fault. She's the one that threw Brittany under the bus and brought the slut word, like a lot. It pretty much was single-handedly Bronwyn's fault, and that really disappointed me because I'm thinking, maybe I was wrong about you. But anyway, you guys, please let me know what your thoughts were about this crazy episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Y'all have a great one.